I wanted to come on here to share my energy update. So I have to tell you, I have the most awesome clients on the planet. I literally love every single one of them. I don't know many coaches or healers that can actually say that. So huge shout out to my clients. Yesterday was my clinic day, so I saw a bunch of my peeps and connected with them live or on Zoom. And it varied across the board. Some were really calm and peaceful. Others were being a little bit rattled because they're empaths and they were taking on other people's energies. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what's going on energetically, right? So, last week I talked about the coronavirus and talked about, just acknowledging that, are you in fear or love, or are you a match to it? This week I really want to talk about some of the dynamics that are going on in our relationships, the patterns that are being kicked up, some deep wounds and some things that we haven't dealt with. Because in our society, we tend to keep ourselves busy, too busy to really do the inner work and think about what's really going on internally. And unfortunately, with the coronavirus, we've co-created a situation where a lot of people are being forced to wake up, to awaken in a very jarring way. Like, I awakened in 2008 because of trauma. I had a divorce, and so that really shook me up. And I really feel that the coronavirus is like that for a lot of people that are, just starting to awaken. It's kind of a shock. And a lot of fears are coming all at once. People are afraid to lose their jobs. I mean, so many have, and they're saying by the end of March, there'll be 1 million layoffs. I mean, that's crazy. And a lot of people that are in the service industry or contractors, they're actually will not qualify for unemployment insurance, and so they will really be in need of that check that's coming from the government to stimulate the economy. And so it's really scary, and I, for one, to be honest with you, I left my corporate contractor gig with an IT healthcare firm, amazing European firm, in December 2018 to do this full time, to do this spiritual and mindset coaching and healing work full time. And that was a huge leap of faith for me, because I was like, oh my God, I'm taking this, huge risk. But to be honest with you, if I was, if I'd stayed and if I didn't listen to my guides, I would be with them and I would be without pay, because if I can't go in and work, they're not going to pay me. I was a contractor and I wouldn't be eligible for unemployment insurance. And so I totally understand, and I feel for everybody that's in that situation. And I am so happy that I listened, that I stepped outside my comfort zone, because your guides and your higher self is always asking you to embrace change, to grow, to step outside your comfort zone, to face your fears. So employment's just one fear people are dealing with. Some other people, they're working from home and they're getting paid, so thank God for that, but they have to take care of their children, you know what I'm saying? And so I had a client tell me, she's struggling with taking care of her child and being a good mom, and then being able to produce, working from home at the same level that is expected of her and her employer. And so to be the perfect mom and to juggle working from home, I mean, that's really hard for people. And then that's bringing up, feelings of inadequacy, like, I'm a bad mom, and also fears of like people speaking up and potentially losing their jobs if they're saying like, I can't really produce to the level that you're expecting me to, because, I have my family home and I also have to take care of my kids. There's no nanny, there's no daycare, things like that. So these are real concerns. And then you have people like myself that are very sensitive, and you're reading these things about, people being laid off and not being able to pay their bills and not being, eligible for employment, and parents, struggling to take care of their kids and working from home. And you're reading all of this. And again, I want to be very mindful about what I'm consuming and what I'm reading, but I obviously want to also stay grounded and understand, what's going on, and not put my head in the sand and pretend like nothing's going on. And, that's not going to work either. So it's a fine balance of keeping yourself informed, but not allowing yourself to get swept up in the momentum of the doom and gloom, right? And so as an empath, I was talking to another client, and, she is working from home. She doesn't have kids, but her friends are saying like, it's a vacation, you get to work from home. I have to go into a retail setting and still be exposed to the public. And then I also have a child. And so she was really internalizing that and taking that on. And so as empaths, I really invite you not to take on other people's feelings or concerns or worries or fears. You can hold space for them, and if you feel like you're not strong enough to do that, then just take care of yourself. And not necessarily like put yourself out there. I'm talking about not socially, but just energetically, right? So if you are able to stay calm and hold space for people and stay grounded, that's great. That is so helpful for people. But just, you suffering, you taking on other people's fears isn't going to help them. In fact, you being swept in the tide of what's going on is going to deem you unstable, right? And not centered. And when, you're not empowered when you're in that state. So you can feel for somebody, you can be compassionate towards your neighbors and loved ones, of course, right? And hold space for them, but just don't get caught up in what's going on for them. There's a difference between being compassionate and really holding space for people, and being in your power and staying grounded. And there's a difference between that and then you taking on other people's energy and allowing that fear or allowing that, lower energy vibrations to really kind of knock you off your feet. So just find that balance for yourself. It's going to be super, super helpful. And also this time is really about clarity. It's like we've been stripped of all our distractions, right? Except for Netflix, thank God. I'm curious to see what would happen if our internets went down and Netflix suddenly was no longer available. I think people would, people would be rioting in the streets, right? So we do have the internet, we do have Netflix, we still have a few, ways to kind of check out if we want to. But this is a time where our distractions have been stripped. We're not at the bar, we're not at restaurants, we're not getting together with friends, we're just not stuffing things down. The scarcity with food is bringing up fears for people having to stay home. For social people is, they're getting cabin fever. That's hard. Having to juggle family and getting triggered by family. That's coming up. A lot of people's, bank accounts are dwindling and they're not getting income. That is extremely scary. And just feeling like out of control, being blasted by everything. So I want you to look at it in a different perspective. It's giving us an opportunity to kind of switch things up and rest and to go inside and be introspective and start examining our patterns and, figuring out, what's working in our life and what's not, right? And because this is a temporary situation. It doesn't feel like it right now because it feels like we're being assaulted by this pandemic. It's almost like a war, but it is temporary, right? And so like, what can you glean from this situation? Like you've got all your distractions pretty much, stripped away, with only a few left. And so what does that look like? Like, are you going to stay conscious? Are you going to awaken? Or are you going to just, get drunk every day or do weed? Again, no judgment if that's what you choose, or watch, Netflix or check out or sleep. That's up to you. But you have this opportunity to really examine your life and look within, right? And just kind of figure out like what's going well, what's not. Like do some soul searching, use this time, right? Like it's so important. And I pulled this card yesterday and I just wanted to share it with you. It's from the Kim Krantz archetype deck, which is so beautiful, but it talks about the fault line, right? So right now we're on this fault line, pressure is finally coming to the surface, it's cracking. And there's no sense in us just denying that there's a crack and we're walking on thin ice right now, literally that's cracking. It's time for us to acknowledge that, and it's time for us to really delve into our fears and process that and face them head on, because the only way is through. And we just can't ignore things anymore, right? There's things that are not working in our society, like, for example, the unemployment, right? Or the systems we have in place, or the healthcare system that is broken, that is being strained right now with people that are coming in, that need help with the coronavirus. So this is the time for us to really look at our existing systems, like what's not working. We can't deny it anymore. Like things have to change, right? And so it's a matter of identifying like what needs to change and making those changes. in the next upcoming months once we get through this emergency situation. I was talking to my friend Kevin the other day, and he said something really beautiful. He mentioned kind of, this proverb that talks about how the river, starts off really wide and then it starts narrowing, and then you have the rocks and the rapids, and as things get, faster and faster, which right now, as I mentioned in the previous video, the energy is getting higher and higher and higher. And so now we're being basically catapulted into these fast moving rapids, and if you're going to hang on to the shore, your arm's probably going to get ripped off, right? And so this is a time for us to let go. Control is an illusion. Okay, so this is the time to just let go, because if we do that, we're able to shoot straight down the rapids and into this abundant ocean and make it to the other side, right? And so this is a time where the world is going through a massive purge, a massive reset, and it's really important that we just let go of our addictions to the gym, or our old patterns, right? Or our expectations or our judgments. It's time to let go, because they're not going to serve us. We're being asked to kind of shake things up and explore different things. So it's beyond the coronavirus. It's like, what are the underlying patterns that are being disrupted right now, right? It's almost like a glitch in the matrix, right? So, for me personally, like back in the day, I was addicted to going to the gym, addicted to doing yoga, and I, was terrified of eating out too much, or, eating the wrong foods like dairy or bread or anything like that. I was so restrictive, and I went through years of having an eating disorder, and limiting my calories, and then just so much self-hate towards my body, and feeling like I had to, I rejected my curves, right? Which is so funny, because my whole brand right now with Inside Job Healing is accepting yourself where you're at. And knowing that, things are going to change, right? And so it's so interesting, because I find my body right now is hanging on to excess weight, just subconsciously wanting to kind of ground, and not take on any dense energies, and just, for some reason I've just created this barrier of protection around myself. And just loving myself regardless, of what, how I look right now, or whether I've gained weight or not. I think it's really important right now for us to love ourselves at any size, because I was joking with one of my clients, and I was like, well, what are you going to do if you can't do food prep? If they close all the stores down or something like that, what are you going to do? What if you can't do paleo? What if you can't do keto, right? And so it's how do you feel about that? Is that freaking you out that, hey, I might be eating foods, I'm not used to eating canned foods and frozen foods. I usually eat fresh produce, right? And so how's that going to affect us? Is it scary for you to be eating, foods that you normally don't eat? And are you afraid you might gain weight? Do you feel if I don't work out at home and I don't keep moving, I'm going to get fat, and I equate my self-worth with, my self-image, right? So I'm just asking you, again, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no right or wrong here. I'm just asking you to really dig deep and kind of uncover all those things. And for me, I'm just in this state of saying okay, my body looks different than it normally does, and I'm okay with that. I accept that. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to judge myself, because I know this is temporary, and and I'm going to be able to get back in shape in no time. Just asking you to come to peace with things and just love yourself no matter what's happening, even if you can't get to the gym, even if you can't food prep. I'm just asking you, to give yourself a little grace and love yourself no matter what. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to share this video with your friends if it resonates. And lastly, I want to leave you with the fact that my friend Rachel has created this great summit. It's totally free. It's virtual. It's on Facebook. It's called Stay Calm in a Changing World. And I'm going to be doing an interview with her and providing contents on how to detox your house. So right now you're at home, and so might as well detox your house and get rid of what doesn't serve you. I just cleaned out my fridge this morning, and it just looks amazing. And so anyway, so if you're interested in joining me for that summit, I'll be speaking this Saturday at 7 Eastern.